From the moment the sun dips behind the jagged ridgeline of the Sierra Mountains, the remote Cartel Drug Lab nestled deep in the jungle looks like nothing more than a cluster of rusted tin roofs and generator lights blinking quietly beneath the trees. To an outsider, it's invisible, just another forgotten patch of land, swallowed by vegetation and secrecy. But to intelligence analysts monitoring satellite feeds thousands of miles away, it is a fully functional industrial hub, pumping out synthetic narcotics and funneling millions into one of the deadliest criminal networks in the hemisphere. And tonight, everything inside that compound is about to be put to the ultimate test. What happens when one of the most devastating non-nuclear explosives on Earth, the thermobaric vacuum bomb, is detonated nearby? The operation begins long before the explosion itself. Weeks of reconnaissance, intercepted radio chatter, and drone surveillance have revealed a meticulously organized drug processing facility guarded by a mix of cartel foot soldiers and mercenaries. There are chemical mixers, fuel drums, plastic barrels full of precursors, and racks of drying narcotics. It's the kind of environment where a single spark could start a fire, but the moment a vacuum bomb comes into play, fire is the least of anyone's concerns. A vacuum bomb, technically known as a fuel-air or thermobaric explosive, doesn't rely on simple combustion. It works by releasing a cloud of explosive aerosol into the air, mixing it with atmospheric oxygen, and then igniting it all at once. Instead of the sharp blast wave of conventional bomb, a thermobaric device creates a massive, sustained pressure surge followed by a vacuum effect that sucks in surrounding air. In enclosed spaces, this pressure differential becomes devastating. As the clock ticks toward zero, a lone drone circles silently overhead, its infrared camera mapping every structure, every guard position, and every heat signature inside the buildings below. The cartel workers go about their routine, stirring chemical vats, hauling bags of powder, shouting instructions over the constant hum of machines. They have no idea that the weapon targeting them is designed specifically for environments like this, enclosed, oxygen-rich, and jam-packed with volatile substances. In the control room miles away, the mission commander gives the official order. The drone's mechanical arm releases a small glide bomb, hardly larger than a suitcase, and it slices downward through the night like a falling star. When the bomb hits the ground just outside the lab's main processing structure, there's a brief moment of silence, a pause so subtle and fleeting that anyone watching might think nothing happened at all. But then the first stage activates. The casing ruptures outward like a burst balloon, and a fine mist of aerosolized fuel sprays through the air, expanding rapidly in all directions. This is a true danger of a thermobaric device. The fuel cloud doesn't explode immediately. It spreads. It fills rooms. It leaks through cracks. It slips beneath doors and into ventilation systems. The drug lab is full of open spaces, poly-sealed walls, and interconnected rooms, so the mist infiltrates the entire interior within seconds. The workers barely register the sudden chemical smell before the ignition charge triggers the second stage. What happens next is unlike a traditional explosion. Instead of a quick bang, the entire area is swallowed by a rolling sphere of fire. The fuel cloud ignites all at once, creating a massive, expanding pressure wave that slams through the buildings. Metal sheets buckle inward. Concrete cracks like brittle glass. Windows vaporize. Inside the lab, the sustained overpressure crushes equipment and collapses entire sections of roofing. The air itself becomes a weapon, pushing outward with enormous force, then immediately reversing direction as the oxygen is consumed and the vacuum effect sets in. In those few catastrophic seconds, the difference between a thermobaric blast and a standard bomb becomes brutally clear. A conventional explosive relies on a chemical reaction confined to its casing, producing a short, sharp shockwave. But a vacuum bomb turns the surrounding environment into part of the reaction. The more air available, the stronger the explosion becomes. And inside a drug lab full of flammable chemicals, loose particles, and vapors, the shockwave multiplies the destruction even further. Barrels rupture, metal tanks burst like overfilled balloons, and highly combustible materials ignite instantly, feeding the fireball as it rips through the structure. From the drone's perspective high above, the explosion appears as a blooming sphere of fire that quickly collapses into a dark void, followed by a wave of dust and debris erupting outward. The jungle canopy shakes violently, and leaves swirl upward into the vacuum-like pool created by the blast. Trees nearest the lab snap in half or topple outright from pressure. When the dust finally begins to settle, the layout of the compound is barely recognizable. Where the primary building once stood is now a mangled crater surrounded by twisted beams and fragments of machinery. The secondary structures, living quarters, generator stations, storage bunkers, have either been ripped open or flattened. But the most striking feature after the thermobaric blast is the absence of intact objects inside the affected radius. The overpressure is sustained long enough to pulverize materials that would normally survive a regular explosion. Interior walls crumble entirely. Reinforced doors warp like melted plastic. Electrical cables are stripped from the ceilings. Anything porous, wood, drywall, cloth, turns into fragments. The intense heat scorches everything it touches, but burns out quickly because the oxygen is consumed almost instantly. That vacuum sensation that gave the weapon its nickname occurs as a fireball collapses and draws in surrounding air, sucking debris, dust, and loose material back toward the blast center. Meanwhile, kilometers away in the command center, analysts watch the real-time feed in silence. They don't celebrate. They don't cheer. A vacuum bomb is not a precision surgical tool. It is a blunt, overwhelming force designed to neutralize fortified or dangerous targets. The decision to deploy it is never taken lightly. In this scenario, the drug lab's remote location, the absence of civilians, and the presence of volatile chemicals made it a tactically viable option. But even with perfect justification, seeing its effects is a sobering reminder of the scale of destruction such weapons can unleash. Back on the ground, the jungle smolders. The drone conducts a slow, methodical assessment of the site, scanning for heat signatures, potential secondary fires, and surviving structures. The massive pressure differential caused by the vacuum effect has ripped open most of the sealed containers, exposing their contents. Chemical fumes leak into the open air, but with the fireball extinguished quickly, there is little risk of further large-scale explosion. The once busy compound now looks like the aftermath of a natural disaster, a hurricane of fire and pressure tearing through everything in its path. The technology and precision of modern surveillance make it possible to identify and neutralize targets once thought impossible to reach. As night settles once again over the mountains, the jungle grows quiet. The smoldering ruins of the Cartel Lab sit under the stars, shrouded in haze and drifting smoke. The drone banks away and disappears into the dark horizon, its mission complete. The strike team shuts down their screens and begins filing reports. And somewhere in the city far below, cartel kingpins will soon wake to the news that one of their most valuable assets has been wiped off the map, not by soldiers storming the gates, not by gunfire or raid, but by a single, devastating force of physics unleashed from the sky. If you did, make sure like and subscribe to our channel for future updates. See you in the next video.